In this coaching session, we talk about the difference between finite and infinite games, and why treating your purpose like a one-time finish line leaves you empty. If you've ever felt lost after hitting a big goal, this will reframe how you think about growth so you can keep the momentum and fulfillment going. When we think about things in terms of, I need to just come up with a vision, and then everything will be okay, what happens is we don't take into account that we can actually accomplish our visions. And if it's just coming up with a vision that is like your end game, is if you become a pretty competent person, that's not going to be enough. You're going to very quickly crush it and then be like, where the hell am I? And so what I try to talk about is, how can you turn this concept of purpose and vision from a discovery, I have my vision, I know what the plan is, to a skill set where I am a person who practices coming up with visions and executing on them and accomplishing them. And I do this over and over and over again, and this is my path, is to be good at this. So in one, it's a finite game, and in the other, it's an infinite game. If you are thinking, well, I just need to get X number of clients, and then I'll have enough income that I'll have freedom, and then my life will be good, then in reality, like, as soon as you get it, now you have the problem of meaninglessness. But if it's, I'm constantly looking for better and better visions, and I'm constantly executing and accomplishing these better and better visions, now you're excited to finish one thing, because then you can just play the next game. So finite and infinite games is something that's talked about in game theory. A finite game is something that comes to an end. An infinite game is something that can continue. And so an example of a finite game is a game of basketball, right? And an example of an infinite game is a relationship, right? And so the goal of basketball is to win the game, and the fact that you have finished it. The game of the relationship is an infinite game where the goal is to continue it. I mean, there's multiple metrics we can do here, like happiness, etc. But like, it's a form of continuation. And a lot of ways to get good life satisfaction is to engage in infinite games. The nuance of this is, let me show you how a basketball game can change from a finite game into an infinite game. So your goal is to win the game of basketball. But hold on, you go to the same rec center every single time when you play basketball. And you play with the same people. Are they going to be there tomorrow? If that's the case, is it your goal to crush your competition every single time? Or is it to establish a good relationship with these people? If your only goal is to go to that basketball court and win, then they might not want to play with you next week. Jordan Peterson talks about the rat experiment. Big rats and little rats, and all rats have to play for them to like stay sane and healthy. And there's like rat rules that they follow, and the smaller rat always has to ask the bigger rat for permission to play. That's just kind of like a deference thing, a respect thing. But the thing is if the big rat wins every single time, which it can, then eventually the small rat will stop asking the big rat to play, and the big rat will be alone and go crazy. And so the big rat's goal isn't to win. The big rat's goal is to play. Very different goal. And so a lot of people, especially guys, especially men, a lot of men, we look at our goal, our purpose, our mission as a finite game. This is the cause of so much misery in America, is a lot of men turn the American dream into a finite goal where they go, oh, I need a wife, 2.5 children, a picket fence, and a minivan. And then they get that, and then they think they can just work for the rest of their lives, and then everything will be okay, because their goal is to support that. But then the women are more sensitive to the nature of growth, like they have a more natural desire for continued growth. They feel the stagnation of that, and they were only willing to experience the pain of getting to that for the promise of the fact that they were going to live a happy, pleasurable, enjoyable life that continued to move towards better things. And they don't see that. And then 10 years later, the man is slapped with divorce papers and he doesn't know why. And it's because the man was trying to play a finite game. Or he thought he was in a finite game. He thought he'd won. And this happens all the time in America. Is men think like, oh, I'm in the relationship now. It's done. It's like, that's not a thing. And so the reason why I'm talking about this right now is for you to find your purpose, for you to continue building your vision and to feel good about it, feel like you're on your mission. You're going to have to see what it's like to continually set goals that are a little bit bigger. And if you do this, it's going to become rewarding over time because your passion is going to become the process of growth, the journey, as opposed to the specific goal, the destination. Classic common wisdom, but most of us don't get like why. Why do we learn to appreciate the journey over the destination? It's because of this. It's because of infinite games versus finite games. There's like a hidden tragedy in here that like a lot of people in your situation, when this happens, they become miserable. I have a client that he had 0 YouTube followers and he's like, okay, it's my goal to get 1 million YouTube followers. And I was like, dude, I know you. I know what's about to happen. The next month, he said, I have 1 million YouTube followers. Because he's a high performer. And I mean, I partially helped him get there. He's also awesome in his own right. I will help you get there, but also let me tell you what this game is like. Also, let me tell you what's going to come. Like I told him, actually, like we're going to shoot for this. But also I want you to know you're going to be sad when you get there because you're not going to know what to do. And so men really like to aim for targets, but they have to understand that the game is continually aiming for targets, not aiming for a specific target and being done. Life is much closer to target practice than it is a shot. Yeah, you do not get one shot, one opportunity and have spaghetti on your sweater or whatever, however that line goes. You have multiple shots. And if you are a high performer, you will actually exponentially increase the number of shots that you can take with each success. And that's actually what's occurred, is you just replaced your 9 to 5. Congratulations. Now you have more opportunity than you did before. This is amazing. And you have the opportunity to be sad and feel like you don't know what to do. Or you have the opportunity to go, wow, I just made life better for myself. It was a struggle because I remember talking to you a couple of weeks ago and you were not feeling great about things. It was hard. It was hard to get here. And so you don't want to just be like, oh, now I'm miserable. Because like there was struggle before that you don't want again. Now it's time for new and better struggle.
Better struggle. What do you mean by better struggle?
When I was younger and I was still living on the poverty line and I spoke to somebody successful and I was asking him about how to get successful, he said, you know, once you get successful, there's just new problems, right? And I said, yes, I know, but I'm bored of my problems. I would like some new ones. You get to work on new problems, and that's more fun. And so right now you've succeeded in replacing your 9 to 5 job. Have you succeeded in financial stability? Do you have capital slowly increasing independent from your business cash flow? Are you an economic inevitable force of nature? And do you hope to have kids someday? Sweet, me too. You know what's going to make that a way better experience? Is if there are no questions in your mind as to whether or not you can provide for them. Not just like, I can always get a job, I can always get my business to go, but it's like, no, I have backup on backup on backup plans. I am stable. And if things go south, it doesn't matter because I have ways to deal with things going south. Now you have the opportunity to be a rock to your woman, and you have the opportunity to be a rock to your children. That's a cool goal. That's definitely going to take you more than the next month. And that's just the beginning. Because that's just, how do I become a rock to myself first? Then how do I become a rock to the people near me? Then how do I become a rock to my community and a rock to my state, to my country, to the world? That's one path. Another path is, how do I inspire myself? How do I inspire the people immediately around me? How do I inspire my community? How do I inspire the world? You take whatever it is that you think is your gift and you scale it. And so right now, you've successfully launched an ad agency. Now, that's amazing. What's the next step? Your next goal isn't content. Your next goal is to reach your max. Your steps are very straightforward. The thing that you're going to have to guard against right now is boredom. The thing you're going to have to guard against is jumping too high too fast. You've replaced your job and it felt easier than you thought it would. Almost always when somebody does that in business, the next thing that they do is they expand too fast and then they go bankrupt on the first time that they hit a contraction. Almost 100% of the time when their business starts too easily, then the next thing that they do is they expand too fast and fail. So I'll just let you know that now ahead of time so that you can not do that. While you were making stonk talks, everybody was on that trend. And I was as well, right? And most of the people that I know have gone back to their jobs. I was very connected in the TikTok community for a while when TikTok was taken off. Yeah. And all the content creators there was especially, like, for example, like the finance TikTokers, all those guys were promoting like crazy. There was unparalleled sponsorship money going through the system. They were playing the whole like rap celebrity game, tossing money off of balconies, getting the black Ubers, just all the fancy stuff, moving out, buying the new vehicle, all the standard things. Most of them are working a job now because that bubble contracted and they didn't know how to deal with contractions. And so when things got tight, their business collapsed and they went back to work. Meanwhile, I continued living in my one room that I was renting for way longer, and I felt way less cool. And now I have my dream apartment, and it's doubtful I'm going to have to move out anytime soon because I took my time. Like, most people reacted to their increased wealth within weeks to months. I waited at least a year before I changed anything. Like, from the time my income increased to the time that I changed my spending behavior, because I knew that fast money isn't always fast. And this is in no way, and I really don't want you to take it this way, this is in no way me saying, oh, this is going to like be hard, you know, in a month, or like you probably aren't as good as you think you are. It's none of that. It's simply that life goes like this. Right. That's just the way life goes, right? Life does not go like that, right? Life goes optimally from the lower left-hand corner in waves upwards. My friends also know that my favorite direction is up and to the right. So people that start businesses fall for businesses only go up. And the reality is businesses go like this, right? And so if you succeeded faster than you thought you would succeed, then the very next step you need to be taking is preparing yourself for a moment where it is difficult. And so I really want to encourage you and challenge you to try really hard to get an extra client as soon as you can, to be making a bit more cash than you think you need and saving all of it. I know that you started this on savings and it took less time than you thought, so you probably still have some extra savings. That's fantastic. That's great. But there's a power. This is the other part that's important, because I want you to become a more powerful person. There is a power that comes from knowing that you are consistently pushing things into the reserves. This is how I like to map out investment plans for people. So the way I recommend for people to invest is like, here's where they are right now, and here's retirement. First, map out retirement. Then map out 10 years earlier. Then map out 10 years earlier, 10 years earlier, until you get to present. So go, how can I make $1 million when I retire? Now, how can I make $1 million at 55? Now 45. Now 35. And if you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to be consistently building certainty. Did you feel more confident and certain when you realized that you were going to retire a millionaire? Did it make you move through the world differently? And so my fundamental philosophy of investing, and I believe that investing is the same as starting a business, is become more capable of risk over time. And so you, by ensuring that 65 was taken care of, became capable of a certain level of risk. What happens if you know that 55 is taken care of? What happens when you know that 45 is taken care of? Think about what happens when most men have children. The terror that runs through their heart because they're like, fuck, I got to take care of these kiddos. What happens if you know that by the time those kids are 5, you could retire and you could just devote your attention to being a good dad if you wanted to? The power that you would have, that's awesome. And so for a lot of people, I recommend that they move their goals to being more like an inevitable force of nature. How can I become inevitable? But a good version. You should have urgency right now. You're going to live a lifestyle of when things work, you slack off, and when things get bad, you hustle. That's a very stressful life. There's a much more exciting life available to you. It's where you preempt the hustle and you choose to hustle. Not in a crazy way, but in a determined way.
How do you hustle? I've realized a lot of my hustle is from that place of lesser than. Like it's a hustle out of like the pressure from this kind of shitty situation I'm in. And that's been my main motivator.
There's 2 ways to do it. One is you increase the pain. The other is you orient yourself more towards pleasure. There are only 2 options. That's it. So what I mean by that is for some, Gary Vee is famous for this. He talks about how he imagines everyone he loves dying. What he does is he increases the level of perceived pain of inaction. That is one path. The other path is to learn how to aim towards good. The pain hustle version of life is very popular right now. Men love to fetishize the struggle and how like everything needs to be hard and hard times create good men, blah, 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 blah. But there is a power that comes from going after what you want. When a lion hunts down a gazelle, is it running away from the pain of hunger? No. It feels a hunger towards the gazelle. It wants it. There's a deep power in going after what you want. Also, when you make love to a woman, is she excited when you perform really well because you really don't want to perform badly? Or is she excited when you voraciously want her? She's excited when you want her. So running away from pain doesn't solve everything. Running away from pain does not work well in bed. Running away from pain does not work well when you're trying to do extreme high performance. Kobe Bryant wants to win. He doesn't want to not lose. There's a very big difference between those 2 things. Keep that hunger for the thing and tell yourself that you're actively going after something that you want. And what will happen is your muscle, your capacity to go after what you want will increase. Your drive to accomplish will increase. When you cultivate that, when you nurture that, your long-term drive is more stable. Because pain motivators are fast-acting and short-term. Pleasure motivators are slow-acting and long-term. And so right now, you are used to operating based on when things go wrong. And you have to learn how to operate from a frame of when things go right. So there's two things to be done here. One is amplify the pain. The other is aim towards pleasure. You actually need to do both. I emphasize in my teachings learning to aim towards pleasure because most people don't talk about it. But you also want to do, for example, what I just did with you today, which is say, hey, look, if one of your clients falls off, you're still fucked. Hold that in your mind of like, oh, I'm like, my homework isn't all in. I could still get a bad grade here. And if you do those two things, you keep aiming towards, hey, I want more money, and hey, I really don't want to lose money. You just amplify those two pieces, and you will start moving towards more money. If you'd like to build your life or business with me, go to the link below or go to apply.joshterryplays.com.